Welcome y'all to another Loud Little Ducky video. Today we are going to be revisiting the Sandra Birchmore case and going into the internal investigation of Stoughton Police Department. Thank you to whoever told me how it was pronounced. But these four we know are involved somehow. Let's see what this internal investigation found out. So we have the town of Stoughton with the chief of police as Donna McNamara and Deputy Chief Holmes. The date on this is February 8th, 2021. The report completed and submitted was on August 29th, 2022. Chief McNamara, pursuant to your directive of February 5th, 2021 to conduct this investigation, I hereby submit the following report into the matter of the unattended death of Sandra Birchmore and into the possible violation of the policies, procedures, rules, and regulations of the Stoughton Police Department. Now, an unattended death just means that they were somewhere that a doctor wasn't. So even if she wasn't found alone and she was found with a friend of hers, it still would have been considered unattended because there wasn't a doctor there. So we have this administration investigation was conducted to determine any violations of policies, procedures, rules, regulations of the Stoughton Police Department by any of its employees. This investigation began as a result of the unattended death investigation that was conducted by Massachusetts State Police into the death of Sandra Birchmore of Canton, Massachusetts, formerly of Stoughton, Massachusetts. She used to live in Stoughton, but she lives in Canton now. And a former participant in the Stoughton Police Explorers Program. Investigative reports and evidence in this case were shared by the Massachusetts State Police concerning personal relationships that members of Stoughton Police Department had with Miss Birchmore. Throughout the course of this investigation, there was an understanding between the Massachusetts State Police and me that should any evidence be discovered concerning criminal culpability involving anybody connected in any way to this case, that I would refer that information to the Massachusetts State Police for further investigation. Per policy, the Chief of Police received weekly updates as to the progress of this investigation, and on occasion with more frequent when relevant. A determination was made in the early stages of this investigation that disclosure of allegations to employees who would eventually be identified would jeopardize this investigation. An approximate timetable was provided and updated as information developed. Some delays in the processing of data were beyond the control of this investigator. Any dispositions or findings are based upon the preponderance of evidence standard of proof. Preponderance of evidence. Not a preponderance. Preponderance. Introduction and background of the investigation. On February 4th, 2021, the Canton Police Department responded to a sudden death. There's an exhibit for Canton Police, and that's the report. The call originated as a well-being check from the employer of the victim, Sandra Birchmore, which would have been her job at Sharon Public Schools. The call came here to the Stoughton Police Department as Birchmore's address of record was 40 Holbrook Avenue in Stoughton. Further communication directed that the Canton Police do the well-being check at Windsor Woods as Birchmore had moved there. Reportedly, Birchmore had not reported to work in several days. The victim, Miss Birchmore, was pronounced deceased at the scene by the Canton paramedic. She died from blank. And there is a lot of redactions in this, so we would just have to kind of guess. And there's exhibits, and I don't know if they put the unaliving or if they put homicide. On or about February 5th, you were contacted by a detective from Massachusetts State Police Detective Unit that is assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. The nature of the call was to notify you that a former member of Stoughton Police Explorers Program, the program was now terminated, and that program has been terminated since 2016. Thank goodness, because the amount of stuff that was supposedly happening in that thing is disgusting and distasteful, and everybody who did anything should be in jail. Of this department had blank, the trooper related that the former police explorer and victim, Sandra Birchmore, had been in a relationship with Detective Matthew Farwell for an extended period of time. He indicated that on the day Miss Birchmore blanked, the other trooper in the Canton Police Department responded as they ordinarily would to any unattended death. The Massachusetts State Police has been contacted by friends and family of the victim, Miss Birchmore, alerting the detective unit to the relationship between Matthew Farwell and Birchmore. Concerns were blank. It was relayed that the Massachusetts Medical Examiner's Office took jurisdiction of the body and later confirmed that the victim, Miss Birchmore, blanked. The preliminary investigation information showed Detective Farwell on the video surveillance of Miss Birchmore's apartment approximately 4 days before she was discovered deceased. Farwell spent about 20 minutes inside the apartment. So this is stuff we know. We kind of know a little bit of the background. Further investigation by MSP indicated that Farwell had known the victim, Miss Birchmore, since she was approximately 13 years of age and began blank relationship with her at 15. And that's going to be a sexual relationship with her, is my guess. Text messages developed from the MSP investigation indicated that Farwell had blank with Sandra Birchmore when she was age 15, and that Farwell blank. The substance of the conversation shows that Farwell corroborates this action. Disgusting. The investigation by the Massachusetts State Police did not yield sufficient probable cause with which to charge Matthew Farwell with a crime at that time. After discussion with you, me, and the appointing authority, so the you is going to be the Chief of Police, Donna McNamara. Okay. You, me, and the appointing authority, a decision was made to place Matthew Farwell on paid administrative leave given the nature of what was known at the point in time. Yeah, he shouldn't have been paid. But until they look into it and find something, I guess I can understand. Ultimately, the MSP investigation would determine through the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner that the cause of death of the victim, Sandra Birchmore, blank. Analysis of the victim's communication shows extensive dialogue between herself and Matthew Farwell. When Matthew Farwell told her that he had arrived at her apartment and she told him to come up, Matthew Farwell was the last known person to see Sandra Birchmore alive. Given the volume of data, the town authorized the assistance of outside investigators. P.I. Paul L. Italian was initially brought in to assist, and we would later bring P.I. Robert Fries and Michael Bates as an IT consultant. All investigators are retired ranking members of the Massachusetts State Police with extensive investigative experience. Much of the initial investigative steps were centered on a PDF document that contained a download of data from the victim Sandra Birchmore's laptop. The laptop had been synchronized with her cellular phones. A later analysis of the cell phones provided a data pool that was less cumbersome and easier to identify users and people with whom the victim Sandra Birchmore was having discussions. Data was provided to me in Cellbrite format for easier and more organized analysis. Cellbrite is a very popular cell phone data, electronic data program that is used in a lot of cases to get data extracted from people's phones, and then it organizes them into a functionable format that people can understand. The investigation would later show that Matthew Farwell had a long-standing blank with the victim, Sandra Birchmore, and that his twin brother, Officer Farwell, had a blank relationship with the victim, Sandra Birchmore. Is that also a sexual relationship that's been redacted? Let's see what else. The investigation also determined by preponderance of the evidence that Officer Robert Devine had a blank relationship with the victim. I'm guessing that's a redacted sexual relationship. The investigation shows evidence that blank behavior took place between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, and that Robert Devine was engaged blank of Matthew Farwell and William Farwell as his understudies. Okay. Contact was made with some participants of the former Stoughton Police Department Police Explorers Program, SPEC SPEC, to determine if any inappropriate behaviors, actions, or blank took place beyond what was made apparent through evidence initially obtained. We also interviewed department members and family members of Sandra Birchmore. Notwithstanding the resignation of any prospective targets of this investigation, interviews were drafted and strategically planned. To the furthest extent possible, we exhausted all investigative resources. The investigation represents a crossroads between the statutorily authorized investigative authority of the Massachusetts State Police detectives assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office and the appropriate sharing of information in order to carry out a comprehensive administrative investigation. At a point early in this investigation, there was an understanding that the MSP still maintains primary jurisdiction over any criminal activity that the administrative investigation could reveal. To that extent, the understanding was that if I found evidence of a crime, I would stop the administrative process and refer this case, as well as all the evidence, back to MSP. Okay, so let's see if that was done. And if that is done, why has nobody been charged with inappropriate behavior? One witness came forward alleging that blank, Matthew Farwell, this matter was referred to the MSP, and the victim in that case did not cooperate with the interview process. See executive summary below. Oh, we will. I conducted a review of the administrative investigation of Robert Devine that was conducted by investigator Paul White. I reviewed the findings as well as the entire case file. I conducted personal file reviews of blank, Matthew Farwell, and William Farwell. Several civilian witnesses interviews were conducted. A conclusion of fact is detailed below. Okay, so now we're going to get into the executive summary that says the victim in that case did not cooperate with the interview process. So, Matthew Farwell has been a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department from March 27, 2012 until the date of his resignation on April 1st, 2022. He was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers Group during his teenage years and had been designated the rank of Deputy Chief with the program in 2002. After high school, he entered the military and later acted as a guest instructor with the Explorers program at the request or direction of Robert Devine. Sandra Birchmore was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers program group beginning in 2010 when she was 13 years old. She was on the standby list for the program in 2010, was a member in 2011, and remained in the program until 2016, the year she graduated from Stoughton High School. And what do you know? That is the year that they closed this Explorers program down, too. Sandra Birchmore was found deceased at her apartment in Canton on February 4th, 2021, after a well-being check when she didn't report to work. The Norfolk District Attorney's Office conducted an investigation, and it was determined the manner of her death. Redacted. On February 6, 2021, Matthew Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police as a part of the Sandra Birchmore death investigation. During the interview, Matthew Farwell stated that he knew Sandra for about 10 years and that they met when she was in the Explorers program of Stoughton Police Department. He knew that she had previously blanked. Matthew Farwell stated to the state police that he began a blank relationship with Sandra Birchmore early in 2020. So he's saying that he started a sexual relationship with her in 2020, which would have been after she was 18. He admitted they blanked in December 2020. Sandra told him blank. He stated he last saw her on the evening of February 1st, 2021, when he went to her apartment to end their relationship. They had a pretty nasty argument, and he left there at approximately 9:30. During the state police investigation into Birchmore's death, there was an analysis of her devices, cell phone, laptop, etc., and social media platform. This part of the investigation revealed that Matthew Farwell was in contact with Birchmore by text message going back to at least 2020. During many of their text communications, the topic of discussions were blank. There had been hundreds of text messages between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore that had been reviewed as a part of this investigation. Of note, there was a text message exchange between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore on February 11, 2020. Specifically, the context of one of the text messages, draft interview, marked M. Farwell text, refers to the date of blank. M. Farwell text number 6 indicates that Matthew Farwell blanked. Within the narrative of the text number 6, Matthew Farwell acknowledged blank. In another text dated February 11, 2020, Birchmore says blank. Matthew replied. This text is marked Farwell 6. In the following text, Birchmore cites the date and added blank. Farwell replied with a smiley face and then a me too. This text is marked Farwell 7. On the same date, Sandra Birchmore texted blank and Matthew Farwell replied. See M. Farwell text number 15. It stinks that we can't see those text messages, but I don't imagine they're good. In another text message between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, Birchmore says blank, to which Farwell replied, me too. Okay, well, he has a lot of me too. This text message was on June 19th, 2020, and is marked Farwell text number 3. The investigation has determined that Sandra Birchmore's date of birth was May 13th, 1997, and that she was 15 years old on April 10th, 2013. For the full context of the text messages, see these exhibits, text messages 1 through 7, 14, and 15. Matthew Farwell resigned from his position with Stoughton Police Department on March 11, 2022, with the resignation to take effect on April 1st, 2022. He resisted sitting for an interview for this investigation. The investigation has determined that Matthew Farwell violated Stoughton Police Department's rules and regulations as listed below. Oh, he doesn't want to cooperate. He doesn't want to sit down and talk? Why? What do you have to hide, Matthew? Findings. Regarding the allegation of Officer Matthew Farwell demonstrating conduct unbecoming of an officer in violation of Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulation, this allegation is sustained. Analysis. Matthew Farwell demonstrated immoral, improper, disorderly, or intemperate personal conduct that reflects discredits upon the officer himself, upon his fellow officers, or upon Stoughton Police Department. The investigation has revealed that Matthew Farwell blank relationship with Sandra Birchmore when she was 15 years of age. The relationship continued for many years, including interactions and communications, while Farwell was on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. So he's out there trying to protect everybody, right? He's protecting all the children while he's screwing around with one. It's disgusting. But yeah, just let him resign. No big deal, right? Just go away. Go somewhere else. We're not going to put you in jail. What is wrong with people? Regarding the allegation of Officer Matthew Farwell violated Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, conformance to laws. This allegation is not sustained. There is insufficient evidence to prove or disprove this allegation. Analysis. On the dates of February 11th and June 19th, 2020, Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore engaged in text message in which they discussed the date of blank. The context of the text message indicated that Farwell and Birchmore blank. Farwell was a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department on that date. In order to have sustained findings of this allegation, investigators would need the testimony of Sandra Birchmore, who is deceased. So can't prove or disprove. We need to talk to the dead. And since we can't talk to the dead, we don't know if this is true or not. Regarding the allegation of Matthew, Officer Farwell demonstrated incompetence when he failed to demonstrate sound judgment in violation of Section 3 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations. This allegation is sustained. So this is the second one that is sustained. On the date of June 7, 2020, Matthew Farwell failed to demonstrate sound judgment when he engaged in texting with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The context of the text message was that he requested Birchmore to meet him on Walnut Street, while he was on duty. Regarding the allegation of Officer Matthew Farwell was untruthful in violation of Section 4 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. So this is number 3. Analysis. On February 6, 2021, Matthew Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police regarding the death of Sandra Birchmore. During the interview, Farwell admitted to blank. A review of the text message between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore shows that he was not truthful in describing the extent of their blank. Their relationship, their sexual conduct. He lied about it. Yeah. And why are you going to lie? Like, okay, I can see lying to your wife about it. But lying to, like, police and stuff? You know they're going to find this stuff, buddy. Like, it's so stupid. Regarding the allegation of Officer Matthew Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty in violation of Section 7 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 now? Analysis. On the dates of June 7th, 2020, Matthew Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty when he engaged in texting Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The context of this message was that he requested Birchmore to meet him on Walnut Street. So apparently, Walnut Street was their meetup. William Farwell had been a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department since March 21, 2017, until the date of his resignation from the department on August 1st, 2022. He was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers Group during his teenage years and had been designated the rank of lieutenant within the program in 2002. After high school, he entered the military and later acted as a guest instructor with the Explorers program at the request of or direction of Robert Devine. So very similar to his brother. They both, were in the Explorers program, then they had ranks in it, and then they both went into the military, and then they both kind of came in and guest instructed with Robert Devine, who is the other pervert in this situation. Sandra Birchmore was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers Group beginning in 2010 when she was 13 years old and was on the standby list for the program in 2010, was a member in 2011, remained in the program until 2016, the year she graduated from Stoughton High School. Sandra Birchmore was found deceased in her apartment in Canton on February 4th, 2021 after a well-being check when she didn't report to work. Norfolk County District Attorney's Office conducted an investigation, and it was determined the manner of her death was blank. On February 11th, 2021, William Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police as a part of Sandra Birchmore's death investigation. During the interview, William Farwell stated he first met Sandra about 10 years earlier when she was in the Explorers program and he was a guest instructor. In 2018, while he was assigned to paid detail, let's see what else. Sandra approached him and they began to talk about her interest in joining the Army. Farwell put her in touch with an Army recruiter and Sandra began to contact him on a regular basis. William Farwell admitted during his state police interview that he had had a blank with Sandra going about 2 years. The relationship ended when Sandra approached him and his family at a 4th of July event. After she approached his family, Farwell blocked her on social media, but they stayed in touch off and on. The last time blank. Oh, you don't like that she showed up to a family event? Can't have the missus finding out about all of this, right? Got to keep your side pieces to the side. Oh, she's just crazy, I'm sure, is what they say. During the state police investigation into Birchmore's death, there was an analysis of her devices, cell phone, laptop, etc., and social media platforms. This part of the investigation revealed that William Farwell was in contact with Birchmore by text message going back to at least April of 2020. Redaction. Some of the content has communications in which William encouraged Sandra Birchmore to blankety blank blank. There is information in some text messages that Farwell is either working a shift or paid detail while he is exchanging blank text messages with Birchmore. The dates and the times of these text messages were compared to the attendance and paid detail records and revealed the following. All right. April 19th, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to a midnight to 8, so 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. patrol shift and exchanged text messages with Sandra Birchmore, which blank. The text messages began at 6:47 a.m. and continued past his 8 a.m. end of shift time. April 29th, William Farwell was assigned to a 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. as a desk officer. He exchanged text messages with Birchmore, which blank. The text messages began at 4:39 a.m. and continued past his 8 a.m. end of shift time. When did she sleep? This poor woman got no sleep unless she slept during the day. Again, on April 29th, William Farwell was assigned to pay detail from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Text messages which began during his midnight shift continued through the time he worked the detail. May 6, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to a 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. patrol shift and exchanged text messages with Birchmore, blank. The text messages began at 6:42 a.m. and continued until 7:25 a.m. December 21st, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to paid detail from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. He exchanged text messages with Sandra Birchmore, which blank. The text messages occurred through the morning hours and continued until 1:49 p.m. At 11:04 a.m., Birchmore sent Farwell blank. At 11:38 a.m., Farwell sent Birchmore blank. Regarding the allegation that Officer William Farwell demonstrated conduct unbecoming of an officer in violation of Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. All right. Then we have the analysis. On the dates of April 19th, 2020, twice on April 29th, 2020, work shift, and later on paid detail, May 6, 2020, and December 21st, 2020, William Farwell demonstrated immoral, improper, disorderly, or intemperate personal conduct that reflects discredit upon the officer himself, upon his fellow officers, or upon the Stoughton Police Department. On the above dates, William Farwell, while on duty, exchanged blank with Sandra Birchmore. And I'm wondering if some of this is pictures. And maybe what kind of pictures they were. It could have just been sexting. I don't know, because it's all redacted. But let's continue on. This is a lot of pages, so we'll probably break this up into 2 or 3 parts, but we'll see how far we get. Regarding the allegation of Officer William Farwell violated Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, conformance to laws, this allegation is sustained. On the date of April 19th, 2020, April 29th, 2020, August 1st, 2020, August 16th, 2020, August 19th, September 15th, September 17th, September 26th, October 19th, November 18th, and December 21st, 2020, William Farwell coerced Sandra Birchmore via text message, redacted. Coerced her. On the dates of April 29th, 2020, August 1st, August 16th, August 19th, September 15th, September 17th, September 26th, October 19th, November 18th, and December 21st, 2020, William Farwell coerced Sandra Birchmore in these text messages. Regarding the allegations of Officer William Farwell demonstrated incompetence when he failed to demonstrate sound judgment in violation of Section 3 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations. This allegation is sustained. So we've got his second sustained. On the dates of April 19th, April 29th, and May 6, 2020, December 21st, 2020, William Farwell failed to demonstrate sound judgment when he engaged in texting with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for Stoughton Police Department, the context of the text message. And so they're giving a description of what the text message is, or they're putting what it is in there. That's redacted. Regarding the allegation that Officer William Farwell was untruthful in violation of Section 4 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. So 3 sustained so far. Is he going to beat his brother? He just possibly doesn't have a murder under his belt. Analysis. On February 11, 2021, William Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police regarding the death of Sandra Birchmore. During the interview, Farwell admitted to blank. A review of text messages between Farwell and Birchmore shows that he was not truthful in describing blank, probably their relationship. He stated during the interview that he last saw Sandra Birchmore during December 2020. The text message exchange indicates blank in the parking lot of her apartment building after midnight on January 10th, 2021. Okay, so she's just being passed around like a little toy. And everybody's okay with it. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't think Sandra Birchmore is necessarily fully playing the field. They're just like, oh yeah, you can just have fun with all of us. Now, whether she was doing things with multiple men, she's single. That's her business. But she is the victim here. And so no matter what she was doing, it still did not rise to where she deserved to be killed. So I don't want like victim blaming in the comments. I don't want to see that. You can keep those thoughts to yourself for all I care. Regarding the allegation that the officer William Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty in violation of Section 7 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. So we have another sustained. Analysis on the dates of April 19th, 2020, April 29th, May 6th, 2020, December 21st, 2020. William Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty when he engaged in texting with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The contents of the text messages, and they're redacted. Regarding the allegation that Officer William Farwell violated the SJIS, LEAPS, and NCIC data entry policy of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, as well as the CJIS Individual User Agreement, this allegation is sustained. And I probably will go over in another video what these different things are and what these sections and what they say are all about, so that we have an understanding. And then once we have that video, I will link that video in the description box in case somebody reads this or watches this after this is put out and wants to go directly to that video at a later date. Alright, so the analysis. On the dates of October 10th, 2019 and November 4th, 2019, William Farwell conducted a CJIS query of Sandra Birchmore on a Stoughton Police Department computer. This CJIS query was not associated with any type of official police business. Regarding the allegation that Officer William Farwell violated the CJIS, LEAPS, NCIC data entry policy of Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, as well as the CJIS Individual User Agreement, this allegation, Department Rules and Regulations, it is sustained. So he's just doing a whole lot of stuff. William Farwell conducted a CJIS queries on himself on 24 occasions using a Stoughton Police Department computer. This CJIS query was not associated with any type of official police business. The dates on which he conducted these queries are as followed. So he checked on himself in October 3rd, 2017. He checked on himself again January 18th, January 20th, February 16th, March 12th, April 11th, April 24th, May 23rd, August 20th, October 4th, November 19th, and December 31st of 2018, and then he's still doing things as of January 24th, 2019. And then he continues on with January 31st, June 29th. He went 6 months without doing it on himself. November 13th, November 27th, December 20th of 2019. Then we get into 2020, and he did it on January 24th, 2020, April 18th, August 9th. Those are the 2020 dates. Then he went from August 2020 all the way until January 2nd he started again of 2021, March 20th, and April 6th of 2021. Looking into himself. Now they're getting into Robert Devine. Was a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department from October 4th, 1999 until his resignation on October 16th, 2022. He was designated officer in charge of the Stoughton Police Explorers Program from the years 2002 to 2014. Sandra Birchmore was a member of the police thing, and it says, she began in this date, she was standby, then she remained in the program until she graduated. Various persons have described Sandra Birchmore blank. Sandra Birchmore was found in her apartment in Canton when she didn't report to work. And then it's, the manner of her death was blank. During the state police investigation into Birchmore's death, there was analysis of her devices, cell phone, laptop, etc., and social media platforms. This part of the investigation revealed that Sandra Birchmore had sent text messages to William Farwell informing him that blank, Robert Devine. She also sent William Farwell blank. And apparently there's a second interview draft of Robert Devine as an exhibit somewhere. The investigation later revealed there was direct contact between Devine and Birchmore by Facebook Messenger between November 27, 2020 and February 1st, 2022. During some of their Facebook Messenger communications, the nature of the conversation was that Devine and Birchmore blank. There was also at least one instance where they met when Devine was on duty. See exhibit of Marty Riggs message exchange. Oh, who's Marty Riggs? He knew about this? Granted, if it was in 2020 and 2022, and it was referenced in that time period, she would have been an adult, so that part wouldn't have mattered unless he knew more. So I would wonder what Marty Riggs actually knew. Findings. Regarding the allegation of Officer Robert Devine demonstrated incompetence when he failed to demonstrate sound judgment in violation of Section 3 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations. This allegation is sustained. Analysis. On the date of December 21st, 2020, Robert Devine, I hate that his last name is Devine because he is so undivined. Nothing divine about him. But he did not demonstrate sound judgment when he engaged in Facebook Messenger communications with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The contents of the text messages was that he requested Birchmore to meet him at the Chateau restaurant. Regarding the allegation that Officer Robert Devine was untruthful in violation of Section 4 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. So they all are lying. They're just all a bunch of liars. None of them can state the truth. The analysis of this, on April 8, 2022, Robert Devine was interviewed by Paul L. Italian and Robert Fries at MPTC Training Academy in Randolph. Mr. L. Italian and Mr. Fries were acted as delegates from the Chief of Police, Donna McNamara, during this interview. During the interview, Robert Devine continually denied that he had any type of contact or relationship with Sandra Birchmore. Really? When informed that at this stage of the investigation we hadn't found any direct communication between Devine and Birchmore, he replied, "Because you won't find it." Excuse me. What? What do you mean you won't find it? Maybe you should have added because it doesn't exist. But you weren't going to go that far. You were just going to say because you won't find it. Is that because you've destroyed it and deleted it all? And sir, there's a lot of things that are deleted that you can find out and get back. Unless you made sure that they couldn't even do that. But you want to act like You don't have any type of contact or any relationship with Sandra Birchmore. You know what would have at least been an honest answer is, yeah, I do remember her. She was in the Police Explorers program when she was younger. But aside from that, no, I don't know anything. Like, that would have been that would at least had a little bit of truth with your lie in it. It would have been a little bit more believable. But no, you just want to just flat out deny it. When you know they're going to find stuff. Because just because you've taken care of everything on your end doesn't mean that she did the same. Regarding the allegation that Officer Robert Devine failed in his attention and devotion to duty in violation of Section 7 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is also sustained. Analysis. On the date of December 21st, 2020, Robert Devine failed to demonstrate attention and devotion to duty when he engaged in Facebook Messenger communications with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The content of the message was requested Birchmore to meet him at the Chateau restaurant, blank. The communication indicated that Devine arrived at the Chateau restaurant and that Birchmore was on her way to meet him there. So I guess you're not supposed to be like meeting up with people when you're on duty. Secretly. Maybe you can meet up with people as long as somebody knows, but maybe it's secretly, or maybe you're just not supposed to meet up with anybody while you're on duty. Handle that when you're off duty. So yeah. All right. So now they get into the investigative actions. On February 23, 2021, I opened a case file as a collection point for this case investigation. I queried all records pertaining to the Sandra Birchmore within the department's in-house computer database known as IMC. After a review of all the records, I administratively locked access to the records with the exception to access by Chief McNamara, me, and Detective Sergeant O'Connor, records access officer. I gave a verbal directive to Detective Sergeant O'Connor that if any records requests came in for Sandra Birchmore, that the chief or I were to be notified. So nobody else needs to be doing a records request for this. It's none of their business. On February 24th, 2021, Detective Matthew Farwell was placed on paid administrative leave. I was assigned by Detective Sergeant O'Connor. At that time, Detective Farwell turned in his equipment and department property as ordered by the memo for administrative leave. On February 26, 2021, I took the IMC access control thumb drive of Matthew Farwell and had retired executive assistant Mary DeCastro verify that the thumb drive was in fact the IMC access and control drive. Ms. DeCastro verified that it was. The drive was kept in the box that is secured in my office. On March 2nd, 2021, I prepared an inventory of the property taken from Matthew Farwell and left the memo for you. On March 15th, 2021, I received communication, blank. He was sending documents that included letters from the victims, Ms. Birchmore, and other communications that was forwarding to me for the purpose of cooperating with this department's internal affairs investigation. On Tuesday, March 16th, I left a message for blank. I spoke to blank on Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. As an introduction, blank, I discussed with blank for understanding how the internal affairs process operates. Blank told me that blank had shared 4 full file boxes of documents that were Miss Birchmore's property recovered from her apartment. Blank turned these boxes over to the MSP. Lieutenant Fanning later shared with me some personal notes that he took from the boxes that he thought may be relevant to this case. I reviewed the documents, which were mainly handwritten notes to people with whom she had personal relationships. On Monday, April 26, 2021, I delivered Detective Farwell's department-issued cell phone to Trooper Kevin Tufts. of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office to be delivered to the investigation trooper, Sergeant Fanning. This was shared in cooperation with their unattended death investigation. On Friday, July 30th, 2021, you and I met with the District Attorney, the First Assistant DA, Sergeant Fanning, Lieutenant Modellino, and Trooper Matthew Dunn of the Massachusetts State Police. On Friday, September 3rd, 2021, after having previously received authorization from Town Manager, I met with Captain Retired Paul L. Italian. Mr. L. Italian is a retired captain of the Massachusetts State Police and now works as an independent private investigator and consultant. I provided a brief overview of Birchmore and Farwell matter. He signed a non-disclosure agreement at my request, and I provided him with copies of several documents. The reports of the MSP were provided along with several pages of notes and journals that were kept by Birchmore. On Thursday, September 30th, 2021, I met with Sergeant Fanning of the MSP ISU. I was given a thumb drive that contained evidence from the unattended death investigation of the victim, Sandra Birchmore. A file labeled Evidence contained blank. Another file that was a PDF was titled Blacklight Case Birchmore. The file contained 50,000 pages of communications that were pulled from Birchmore's computer. The computer had been synced with her cell phone. These files were conversations, text, iMessages, and various forms of communication with her contacts. The documents was challenging to review in that it was not in chronological order and messages were duplicated. Sometimes that happens. On Thursday, September 30th, I conducted a preliminary review of the thumb drive and observed many of the conversations blank. I notified Chief McNamara and the town manager by email that I would be viewing the files of this nature for investigative purposes. On Tuesday, October 5th, 2021, I met with P.I. El Italian, and he requested that I sign a document from his investigative services. The document stated that he was receiving a flash drive blank, and that the purpose of his viewing would be for investigative purposes. The letter also indicated that the files would not be copied and would be returned to me upon completion of this investigation. I signed the document and took a copy for the case file. On Wednesday, October 6, 2021, I met Sergeant Fanning at the office of the district attorney, and I received from him Sandra Birchmore's MacBook Air. The laptop was placed into my case file for later review. And I would like to say, I like all these notes. That's good. More people should do this. On Thursday, November 4th, 2021, I met with P.I. Italian, and we conducted a strategic review of the thumb drive that contained a file named Blacklight Report 2021 929 22 29 52. This file was received from Massachusetts State Police, ISU, and was the downloaded file from the laptop of Sandra Birchmore. The computer had been reportedly synchronized with her cell phone. During the review, we observed and discussed conversations between Matthew Farwell, William Farwell, and the recruiter from the Massachusetts Army National Guard, who was believed to be Birchmore's recruiting officer. We identified conversations that would be of interest to the U.S. military. We also noted that there were photographs and videos that had been exchanged between Birchmore and William and Matthew Farwell. On Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, I reviewed all available files that had been kept archived in the department's dead record storage. These files were in a WB Mason box labeled Explorers and had been placed there by me after I moved into my office in 2017. Previous to this, the files had been kept in the office that I currently occupy by the former Deputy Chief, now Officer Robert Devine. Devine had been in charge of the Stoughton Police Explorers program in 2002 until approximately 2014. Among the students of the earlier classes were Matthew and William Farwell and later Sandra Birchmore. I located paperwork that had these names on it as well as a class syllabi and other related documents that could be further used through the course of this investigation. On Wednesday, November 10th, 2021, I continued a review of all related documents as referenced on November 9th. On Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, PI L'Italien met and continued this investigation. And on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, so I guess a week later. Oh, sorry, the previous one was Thursday, the 2nd. Then the following Tuesday, December 7th, they met and conferred with blank and served him notice that the blank redacted would be a witness in the case. I discussed in limited scope the case without citing names of involved or personnel and spoke in general terms. I advised him that a subject of this investigation has procedural due process rights, and I am also bound by the confidentiality of the policy concerning internal affairs. I discussed that redacted has direct knowledge of the relevant parts of this investigation and that he is a material witness. I discussed that he would be allowed to bring a representative with him for the witness interview. Inquired if he should place blank on administrative leave, and I told him that in my opinion, no, he should not do that. I also advised him that if during the course of the investigation, redacted were to turn from a witness to a subject for any reason, that I would inform blank as to the change in the scope. Blank inquired about knowing in the future of the broader scope of this investigation. I responded that given the most recent changes with the police reform and post, that he would likely be able to receive an unredacted copy of the investigative report when it is complete. On Thursday, December 9th, 2021, PI L'Italien and I met and continued this investigation. On several dates throughout this investigation, PI L'Italien and I had ongoing discussions by cell phone and in person pertaining to the documents related to this case. Collectively, we performed word searches of the PDF that I had received from the MSP, Massachusetts State Police, specifically the blacklight report of communications that the victim, Sandra Birchmore, had with her contacts dating back to 2019. On or about the dates of December 15th, 16th, 17th, and 22nd, I met or conversed with Lieutenant Fanning. Note that Lieutenant Fanning was promoted to lieutenant in the month of December. On December 16, 2021, while working with PI L'Italien, we conversed with Lieutenant Fanning in my office. I returned the MacBook Pro to Lieutenant Fanning's custody. So he's documenting like every little thing he's doing, which to me is how you should be documenting things as anybody involved in like police work or things like that. Like this is how you should be taking your notes, whether it's by dates or by time and dates. You should be documenting everything. On Tuesday, December 21st, 2021, I met with blank for an interview. See person's interviewed summary below, PI L'Italien, and I met blank at the MPTC Randall headquarter building. I had previously arranged for the use of a room in the building. Blank was accompanied by blank. So I'm guessing he did bring representation. After some small talk, I inquired if blank had any idea why he was being interviewed. He said no. I informed him that the investigation concerned the matter of Sandra Birchmore. After some discussion, I offered to allow blank to stop the interview if he felt he needed to consider the representation that he had. We began the interview at approximately 10:30 a.m. After approximately 30 minutes of questions, blank asked to stop the interview for a break. After consulting with blank, asked to stop the interview so that he can consult further representation. I obtained the name of blank that the blank typically uses. I ended the interview and that he should communicate with only the attorney on this matter, and I told blank that I would arrange for another interview through the blanks. I communicated with redacted on December 21st and 22nd, 2021. about the outcome of the first interview and arranging for a continuation of the interview on the week of December 27th. On Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021, I met with Lieutenant Fanning of MSP and received the data files from Birchmore's computer. This version of data was exported into Cellbrite Data Management Program. On Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021, I received, at my request, all available pet adoption files from Blank that had been previously stored at the Stoughton Animal Control Shelter. I attempted to locate adoption papers where Sandra Birchmore adopted a cat from the shelter 2 to 3 years ago. I conducted a complete review of the files that were given to me. No such document were located. The files were returned to the Animal Control Office. On Tuesday, January 11th, 2022, I received confirmation via email from Blank that we were to meet at MPTC Randolph for a continuation of the first interview. This meeting would take place on Thursday, January 20th, 2022. I neglected to confirm the arranged date with Blank, and as such, the interview was rescheduled. P.I. L'Italien and I continued the investigation for several hours. Very, very good note-taking. Between January 10th and 11th, I made contact with Detective Lieutenant Kenneth Hefferman of the Massachusetts State Police Crime Scene Services Division. I requested a forensic analysis of the couch that is located in the Blank. After the detective lieutenant received authorization to assist with this administrative investigation through his chain of command, we arranged for the unit to respond on Friday, January 14th, 2022 at 1000 hours at Blank. P.I. L'Italien was also authorized to attend/participate. On Friday, January 14th, 2022, I met P.I. L'Italien, Detective Lieutenant Kenneth Hefferman of the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory and Forensics Technician Jennifer, I can't pronounce her last name, at Blank. On Wednesday, February 9th, Investigator L'Italien and I met with Blank at the Abington Town Hall in a previously reserved conference room. Present with him was his Blank. See persons interviews. So this with Abington has to be Joshua Healy, because he worked for Abington, or maybe it's somebody that's in charge of Joshua Healy, maybe his boss or something, but it has something to do with Healy if they're in Abington. On Thursday, February 17, 2022, I had a discussion with the Patrolman Union's President Barber pertaining to notification of an interview with Officer Matthew Farwell. On Friday, February 18th, President Barber agreed to accept Farwell's interview notice, and he was to hand-serve him the notice. On February 22nd, 2022, I received an email from Attorney Patrick Hanley, who represents Matthew Farwell. Attorney Hanley confirmed an interview date of March 7, 2022. Between the dates of February 22nd, 2022 and March 11th, 2022, through a series of phone calls and emails between Attorney Hanley and myself, and at some points through Town Council, Matthew Farwell resigned from his employment with the town effectively April 1st, 2022. Good. A previous communication from his attorney indicated that Matthew Farwell would not be participating in an interview in this matter. Upon receipt of the resignation letter, Chief McNamara had the resignation stamped by the town clerk, Stephanie Carrera, as official receipt by the town on March 11, 2022. An interview was drafted. Had Matthew Farwell been interviewed, he would have been asked a series of questions, and they have those detailed in an exhibit. He don't want to talk to nobody. But technically, that is his right. He doesn't have to say anything. Doesn't necessarily look good, but he has the right to remain silent. On March 28th, 2022, I left a message for witness blank, inquiring about scheduling an interview for this investigation. Blank returned my call and scheduled an interview for Saturday, April 2nd, 2022 at 10 a.m. On or about March 28th, 2022, after some previous discussions between myself, PI El Italian, and Chief McNamara, it was decided that I would not participate in the interview or notice of interview of Officer Devine. PI El Italian brought the assistance of PI Robert Fries, Detective Lieutenant, Massachusetts State Police, retired, to assist in the interview of Devine. I wonder if there's like a conflict of interest or something. On March 12, 2021, Officer William Farwell was served notice that he was under investigation. Note, William Farwell was at the time on military leave detailed to his Massachusetts Army National Guard unit and had been deployed since for several months. His anticipated return to full duty date was May through July 2022. On Thursday, May 31st, 2022, I made contact with blank in an attempt to get a contact number for blank. I later received a call back from blank, a cell phone number to me. I then made contact with blank by cell phone. We spoke briefly and arranged to meet for an interview early next week. Blank was at a work event and requested that we communicate via text to arrange the date and time to meet at her blank's home, as she worked from home. On April 4th, 2022, it was determined based on a review of some evidence that PI El Italian and I had obtained that Officer Devine should be placed on paid administrative leave. A discussion was held with Robert Grimm, Chief McNamara, and myself in the town manager's office on Monday, April 4th, 2022. I provided an investigative update per the Stoughton Police Department Internal Affairs policy relevant to the decision to place Officer Devine on paid leave was evidence received during the investigation showing that blank. Alright, so Officer Devine, of course, was put on leave. It was decided that on the basis of the information available that the interests of the department and the town would be best protected by placing the officer on paid administrative leave. Officer Devine was served a notice of his at 15:45 hours and served a notice of investigative interview that would be conducted by PI El Italian. Further discussion was held about the role of Officer William Farwell. I reported that I was believed and evidence showed that Officer William Farwell had frequent contact blank. A determination was made to place William Farwell on paid administrative leave. Chief McNamara called Farwell by phone on April 12, 2022, and he later reported to the station. I assisted in the discussion and retrieved his department equipment. Farwell was present with Union President Barber. On Wednesday, April 6, 2022, I interviewed, redacted, at her home in blank. See persons interviewed summary below, which is going to be in part 2 of this, because we are going to break this up into 2 parts. On Thursday, April 7th, 2022, I received a text message from Redacted. The text was a screenshot of the comment section of a Facebook post commenting on the recent Boston Globe article on the resignation of Matthew Farwell and blank of Sandra Birchmore. The post was by a person using the screen name of Redacted. The post alleged that Birchmore friends had been contacted by members of Stoughton Police Department after her death and that her friends were threatened and called liars. Subsequent to this, I had a discussion with the MSP, Lieutenant Fanning. We spoke about the possible implications of MGL. Chapter 268, 13B, known as the Witness Intimidation Statute. We resolved that should any witness describe a violation of this statute, that I would inform Lieutenant Fanning and reevaluate. So if there was some witness intimidation going on by any of these cops to other people, things were going to get reevaluated, because they can't be doing that. On Friday, April 8th, 2022, I identified redacted, formerly blank. I located a cell number and left her a message at approximately 1325 hours. I attempted her cell again at approximately 1800 hours and did not receive a response. To date, I have not located a cell number for blank and will continue to attempt to make contact with blank in reference to her Facebook post about threats by members of Stoughton Police Department. This person was eventually located and briefly interviewed by PIL Italian. See persons interviewed summary below. On Friday, April 8th, 2022, I left a message to attempt to schedule an interview with blank. I later heard back from blank and we scheduled an interview for 1100 hours on Monday, April 11th, 2022. I received a voicemail from blank on Monday, April 11th, 2022, asking that we reschedule. I returned a phone call mentioning retaining an attorney. I sent an email confirming the substance of our conversation, asking that the attorney contact me. On Monday, April 11th, 2022, I spoke and informed blank that is a witness in this case. After a brief discussion, we arranged to meet at the MPTC at 10:30 on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. P.I. Fries assisted me in the interview of blank, and we will see the persons interviewed section below in part 2. On Thursday, April 14th, 2022, I was contacted by Lieutenant Fanning of the Massachusetts State Police, informed me that a blank identified as blank had called the Massachusetts State Police duty office. When Lieutenant Fanning returned the call, reported that blank had been a police explorer in earlier years of the program, described that blank had observed inappropriate behavior by Devine and Farwell brothers while they served as instructors in the program. Blank indicated that there had been some hugging, kissing, and inappropriate contact in a closet. Blank also stated that there were suggestive statements to the effect of "come back and see me after you turn 18," which is not appropriate. I've heard people say this to people, but it's just not okay. And other such activity that suggest blank. Lieutenant Fanning was so brief, the ADA in charge of sexual assaults, on the matter and get back to me as to the statute of blank. So this is somebody who was possibly in the program themselves at the same time as Birchmore, but he was around and he saw this stuff, and he's telling them, this is what I saw back then, which is just gross. But let's not hold any of these police officers accountable, right? Let's not do anything. Just let everybody act however they want to act, right? On Monday, May 2nd, 2022, I received a name and contact number from Chief McNamara. For blank, who identified herself as blank, reported that blank had an incident with Matthew Farwell in August of 2021, and that the matter may have involved a crime on the part of Matthew Farwell. I called the cell phone number. They returned my call on the same afternoon, and we spoke on a recorded line and reported the following as described below, and everything of that is redacted. I stopped the interview and told blank that I would be reaching out to Massachusetts State Police and that either I or Massachusetts State Police would be getting back to her for the next steps. The recording was downloaded and saved to a thumb drive. I reached Lieutenant Fanning and he was briefed. He called me back after consulting with his chain of command and told me that Trooper Kathleen Prince would be reaching out to me following up on this allegation. I received a call from Trooper Prince on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 about this allegation. I hand-delivered an information packet to Trooper Prince at the Canton office of the NCDA, Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. And Norfolk just seems to be filled with dirty people. Just dirty, corrupt people. And it's being shown and highlighted in so many cases currently. And I'm sure there are more that are coming forward, but they have a microscope on them. Magnifying glass, they are being looked at. On Tuesday, May 17, 2022, I was updated by Trooper Prince that she was not successfully made contact with Blank to arrange for an interview. Trooper Prince indicated that when she contacted Blank, the calls go directly to voicemail. On Tuesday, May 17, 2022, I met with Lieutenant Fanning and an associate of PI L'Italian named Michael Bates, MSP Detective Sergeant retired. Mr. Bates owns a consulting company and specializes in the forensics of internet technology. Mr. Bates, along with PI L'Italian and PI Fries, met at the MPTC in Randolph on Tuesday, May 17, 2022, for strategy and planning discussions. On May 17th, while reviewing with Lieutenant Fanning the contents of Sandra Birchmore's laptop, we discovered a conversation thread that was contained in the Facebook Messenger files. The contact appeared to be either a blocked or anonymous Facebook user. Based on the context of the conversation, the user appears to be Officer Robert Devine. The person is an attorney and an employee of Stoughton Police Department and discusses, among other things, meeting with Sandra Birchmore while on duty in a patrol car, Blank. The conversation discusses meeting locations in Stoughton. Sandra also discusses Blank with the Facebook user who is believed to be Devine. After further investigation, the Facebook user was identified as Marty Riggs. The entire exchange is detailed in Exhibit 30. So it wasn't Devine, it was Marty Riggs. But they originally thought it was. And you know what? I like the fact that they put what they initially thought in there, but then when they investigated further, it ended up being Marty Riggs. Like, that's being transparent, the person writing this. And I appreciate it. But notice, they thought that blocking Birchmore on Facebook and making them like an anonymous person, that was going to keep the police from figuring out who he was. And it didn't. So anybody out there trying to block and all that, guess what? If the other person hasn't done so on their end, it's not going to work. On Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, I met with Redacted, spoke with her briefly, and inquired about digital imagery of Sandra Birchmore's apartment during the 2 months that she was a tenant. I also asked about payment records that she may have had. She looked up what Sandra had on file for her. On Monday, June 6, 2022, I provided PI L'Italian with 4 investigative files. He was to conduct interviews of these individuals. We discussed the scope of the interviews. On Tuesday, June 7, 2022, I met with Lieutenant Fanning and received a 64 gigabyte thumb drive of the data pulled from Sandra Birchmore's 2 cell phones. The format was in Celebrite Reader and is a more legible and delineated format. The thumb drive was passed on to PI L'Italien and was given to PI Michael Bates for further analysis. See, this is just clear and concise. Okay. On Thursday, June 9th, 2022, I requested a CJIS, which just means Criminal Justice Information Services, offline search of any and all CJIS users within the Commonwealth that may have queried Sandra Birchmore on her vehicle. So they want to know who looked at, or searched up Sandra Birchmore's vehicle and when they shouldn't. Or, and was it official police business or was it not? On Thursday, June 9th, PI and L'Italien and Fries met with Blank at her home in Blank. The interview had been previously arranged to take place at 5:30 p.m. See person's interview summary below. On Thursday, June 9th, 2022, I asked Union President Barber to serve a notice to William Farwell. The following day, I received a confirmation and request that the date of the interview be pushed back by a week. On behalf of the town, I honored the request. On Tuesday, June 14th, 2022, President Barber came to my office indicating that Farwell had previously spoke to him about his interpretation of the USSERA Act and that he had located a staff investigator from the USDOL. Okay, so those are going to be things that we're going to have to look into. He provided me with the contact information and asked that I contact the investigator William Coughlin. On Friday, June 10th, 2022, I received a response to my offline search request. Responses would be limited to Stoughton's CJIS user data only per CJIS policy. I discussed with the CJIS director a process for obtaining statewide information. I then submitted a second request for an offline search for all queries of CJIS users Matthew Farwell, William Farwell, and Robert Devine. On Tuesday, June 14th, 2022, I sorted previously held files from the Police Explorers program and took only those files and documents with investigative relevance. So he didn't just deal with all of them. He only looked into the ones that went with the case. All old files were archived in the dead records room in the basement and marked Police Explorers old and taped shut in the event that a future need arises for further review of those files. So he's saying what he did. I got them at this, and then they are back here. It is taped shut. So he made sure that it was all locked down and everything like that. He reported that. I like that they are doing this. Whoever is in charge of this internal investigation, which we may have discussed in the beginning, but I have since forgotten. But I just like how in-depth his descriptors are. And I don't have to like everybody in that department. I think there's a lot of shady, horrible characters. But this person looking into all this is doing good. On Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, after discovering that William Farwell had violated the CJIS policy and user agreement by query his own personal data on intermittent basis for the entire time he was a user, I made contact with the SSRA Kate Kelly of the FBI and asked that she query William Farwell's personal data through their database. A query was made and no outstanding or archived records were located. We discussed the possibility of a VIC-CAP query. Let's see what a VIC-CAP query is. VIC-CAP query. It is Violent Crime Apprehension Program query. At a later date, as in my opinion, a CJIS authorized user performing multiple queries of themselves is highly suspect and unusual. So they are, I guess, looking into possibly seeing if they have any violent crimes on the record. Like, is anybody putting in their information or their name showing up in the database? Like, they're searching themselves, which we went over earlier when on those dates and stuff. The query files were also shared with PIL Italian to be incorporated into the interview of William Farwell. On Thursday, June 23, 2022, I was made aware by Redacted had been making allegations on social media about getting into a fight with a female member of the Stoughton Police Department last week. I asked blank to send a message to the user on Facebook from Stoughton Police Department Facebook page. The feature would not function or allow a message to be sent. I reviewed the Facebook page for blank. There appears to be a low occurrence of activity on the account and is likely a Facebook alias page. I copied and posted and entered it as an exhibit 15. So whoever did that on that page, they tried to reach out to them and everything else. But now that page and everything is just made into an exhibit because they are aware of it, so they want it documented. On July 21st, 2022, I emailed William Farwell a notice of an investigatory interview. I received a response from Mass Cop attorney Patrick Bryant acknowledging receipt of the interview notice, among other things. Attorney Bryant indicated that there were schedule conflicts for the date of July 28, 2022. On July 26, 2022, Patrol Union President D. Barber requested on behalf of Officer William Farwell that he be allowed to come to the station to clear out his locker of personal belongings. Barber did not have a disposition of Farwell's intent or plans to resign from his employment. I arranged to be present with Barber and Farwell while he retrieved personal property from his locker 10 in the men's locker room. At Farwell's request, a Trident front post sight and streamlight TR1HL was removed from his department-issued firearm, chief's custody since administrative leave. So Farwell turned over his firearm. It was returned to him upon his arrival at the station on Tuesday, July 27, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. In turn, he returned the department's original issue front post sight for his department-issued Glock pistol. Okay, so maybe they had something else, but he's turned his Glock over that was from the department. While clearing out his locker, he returned a duty belt, radio charger, belt keepers, handcuffs, vest carrier, and extra radio that he had been using for his collateral work on radios. He removed 3 boxes full of property and placed them in his personal vehicle, and then returned and went through his department mailbox. He then left the station, accompanied by Detective Barber. William Farwell tendered his resignation to Chief McNamara's via Patrol Union President Barber. The resignation was effective August 1st, 2022. An interview was drafted. Had William Farwell been interviewed, he would have been asked a series of questions that are detailed in Exhibit 14. On August 5th, 2022, blank were served notice of witness interviews for interviews that were to take place Thursday, August 11th, 2022. On August 12th, 2022, I inquired of the school department about school records that could be in existence for blank. I was interested in guidance, adjustment, and school psychologist records to include notes. I received a reply on Monday, August 15, 2022, that only academic records existed and that what I was seeking no longer existed. On Monday, August 15, 2022, I was made aware by Chief McNamara that Robert Devine had resigned from his position as a patrol officer, effective Tuesday, August 16, 2022. The letter to Chief McNamara indicated that he was filing for retirement, among other discussions. Devine requested that if there was any new area to cover with him concerning this investigation, to send it to him in writing. I mailed a series of questions to Devine, see Exhibit 17, and he later replied by mail, see Exhibit 19. On Monday, August 22nd, 2022, I began compiling PDF files from the Celebrate program onto a terabyte drive to permanently preserve the documents as they are too large to print. Some experts of communication from these drives were pulled to create exhibits for interviews. On Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, PI El Italian returned to me all raw data that had been contained on thumb drives that he had been given by me so that he could collaterally review the investigative data. I wiped these files clean as they were redundant to exhibits that were referenced in this report, and I destroyed the thumb drive. Once again, he is saying, we had this, but since we put all this on a terabyte thing, and all of this stuff, this was redundant, maybe cumulative, there was repeats, stuff like that. So they got rid of all the data on the thumb drive so that if anybody found the thumb drive and everything else, that stuff wouldn't be on there. But also they destroyed the thumb drive. So even if somebody did find it, they weren't going to be able to do anything with it, and there was nothing on it. But they're documented saying, I did this. So if anybody has any questions about this particular thing, this is what happened with it. And that is how you should do things. On Thursday, August 25th, 2022, I received via first-class mail a letter from Robert Devine in response to my questions that were mailed. Devine's response was received by me after I documented this credibility assessment as a part of this report. I maintain this assessment despite Devine's response. I assessed Devine's response to be consistent with his credibility. Devine opened his response by indicating, of course, I desire to cooperate. His response to the third question genuinely makes claims about accounts being hacked. Of course. It wasn't Devine. It wasn't Robert Devine. Somebody hacked his account and sent those messages. It wasn't from him. Okay. So, I don't know what all they have on him. I don't know if it's just cell phone. I don't know if it's Facebook and cell phone. Emails. I don't know from where all their information fully comes from. But if you were hacked, so they would have had to have hacked like your Facebook message, your email, your cell phone, everything like that. Like they hacked every single thing you had. And it just so happened that on the day of all these hackings that you never reported before, all this stuff went down and that wasn't you that contacted her about meeting you at this place on several different occasions. That was somebody that hacked you. Right. Because that's believable. Give me a break. I performed an IMC in-house records check of Divine and located no incident reports in which Divine reports of being hacked or is the victim of computer crime. Well, what do you know? Didn't I just say that? Note, he listed as victims of other crimes such as A and B PO. The response is a consistent theme that was developed and employed throughout the investigation of Paul White in a June 2015 investigation. All right. So, persons interviewed. We're going to go over this and then just have a little taste before we jump into part 2. So, persons interviewed. P.I. L. Italian and I interviewed blank at MPTC Randolph on Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 at approximately 10:30 a.m. Blank was accompanied by blank. The following summarize the interview. Blank, he is friendly with the Farwell brothers and Officer Divine. He would not describe the relationship as a close friendship. So, he is not close with the Farwell brothers and Divine. Like, maybe they're acquaintances, maybe they're co-workers. He's cordial to them, but they're not besties. Blank met Sandra Birchmore when blank was not certain of the exact time frame of this. He befriended Sandra, redacted, prior to his employment as a blank. She would often visit blank and is familiar with the difficulties that Sandra Birchmore encountered in life. So he knows a little bit about Sandra's background. I'm guessing he worked for Stoughton. Maybe not, but and maybe that's why they redacted, and maybe they wouldn't have redacted it if he was at Stoughton, or it just gives away who it is. They would be like, oh, this is from somebody. But either way, he's familiar with Sandra Birchmore's life and struggles she's dealt with. But he has also seen things with the Farwell brothers and Officer Divine. So that is a little taste of what's going to be in part 2. And we will finish this internal investigation up in that video. Now, I don't like any of this crap that's going on. I don't like that it happened. I don't see how it just was under everybody's noses. I know it does happen. Things can be hush-hush. But I mean, we're talking about from like 8 years, 6 to 8 years that this was going on in the department. And nobody spoke up. Nobody saw anything then. Now people are speaking up, but nobody wanted to say anything earlier. And it wasn't like Sandra Birchmore was trying to hide any of it. Like, she was very vocal about things and would tell people things. But, you know, she deserves justice. That's why we need to look at everything. But I am going to say the fact that they did an internal investigation, good. And the fact that they actually found stuff and are acting on it, great. Could more have been done? Yes, absolutely. I hate that they get their retirement from the years that they've worked. I think that if you are dishonorably discharged with their work because they resigned, I don't think they should get their retirement. Personally, I think they should be in jail, so they shouldn't be getting that anyways. But I hate that they just get to resign and walk away and live their life and still get money from all the police work that they disgracefully did. It's just gross, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen. I don't care if he worked so many years for it or so many hours for it. I don't give a damn. When you do vile things like this, criminal acts, I don't care if you're a homeless bum on the street. And that's because you messed with a child first. Yeah, she was an adult when this went down. She was a child initially. And I just don't care if you don't have a penny to your name. I don't care. I don't think you deserve it. If this stuff is true, you don't deserve squat except for jail. That is going to be it for this video. Please subscribe so you see when part 2 is coming out, as we continue to look into the Sandra Birchmore case to find justice for her and her unborn child. Like this video and share it, and I will see y'all later.